Hello, welcome everybody. I am Stephanie Wozliak. I give business owners permission to do business on their own terms. And today is a very special day because any day we get to talk to Daniela Hofmann is a special day. As you will get to see, just her calm presence is a delight to be around. And I just am very much looking forward to sharing her with you all today. We're going to talk about mindful co-working. We're going to talk about embodiment. We're going to talk about business and whatever else comes up today. How does that sound to you, Daniela?
Well, firstly, you make me blush. Thanks for the intro. And yes, amazing. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so what I adore about your business is your mindful co-working space, which we'll tell everyone what that is. But I love that it's called the cabin. Like instantly when I found out about it, it just landed with me from a nature outdoors kind of like peacefulness perspective. So I was instantly hooked on that. But then you do so many special things with people. It's not just show up, get some work done, call it a day. So uh tell us, like I've been to a session, and tell us or give everyone like a little recap of how they work.
Okay, sure. So the cabin. So each session is like it's in its essence, it's co-working, right? And this is how I came to it too, because at the time I was looking for something that would help me to do my work, to move things forward that I really cared about, but I felt really distracted, specifically around about the time I set it up. And I joined a co-working space in the US. There was so many people on it, like hundreds. But in that half an hour, I got so much done. I loved it. I never had this experience before. So that was back in 2020, I think, 2019, 2020. But what it reminded me of so much was like my experience of the corporate world. So just a little bit of background. It is quite interesting that we're talking right now because I just finished an article reflecting on 6 years post leaving this world, and what I've learned. So 6 years ago I left that, and it reminded me a lot, this experience of this space of like kind of the masculine head driven work, and it's only about getting your work done. And yes, that was important to me, but I just didn't want to work like that anymore. I spent so many years in this paradigm that I just didn't want to be in that anymore. And at the time I was training to become a mindfulness meditation teacher, and I just thought, why don't I combine the two? That to me made so much sense. So the kind of softer, more nurturing side, the feminine side, and the more masculine side, because ultimately you do get some work done in the sessions. So yeah, this is how I came up with it all. And then I tested it out with a few people, and I really enjoyed it. I ran it for a long time as a free product, and turned it into a membership, which works really well. And yeah, it usually starts off with some movement, and this is where kind of the embodiment side of it comes in as well, which at the time when I first started it, I wasn't really calling it that. It's just movement, but really it's an opportunity to stop, reconnect with the body, notice that we have a body, and then from that point, I usually shift people into a meditation. It's usually a guided meditation, visualization that takes you to a cabin. And it's always a great starting point. And for me personally, I can get really creative with the meditations. And what's been so interesting is, since working with other people, other hosts, and they're reading the meditations, it's often a situation that I've had, like I walked to a specific part of the woods, and it's so beautiful to hear that through other people. So yeah, after the meditation, we then set intentions. And I think that's a crucial part.
Yeah,
And
me
it's not
too.
just an intention, like I'm writing this report, but it's also like, what energy do you want to bring to the session? Like, do you want to like, what energy would you want to bring? It's not about getting this done. Of course, yes, sometimes taxes, for example, I guess they need to get done. But like, what is the why? Like, you're doing taxes for your business because your business ultimately helps people. So maybe there's a connection piece. Maybe there is, you're grateful that you even get to do your taxes because, it keeps your business running too. So that sort of thing. And then we move into a session, and the session is 52 minutes, and we work alongside each other. Everyone goes on mute. We keep cameras on to, again, help with that sort of extra bit of accountability. So you stay in front of the screen working. And yeah, it works really well. And after the session, we get together in breakout rooms, reflect, connect, and that's about 75, 80 minutes. It's a
Yeah.
typical session.
Yeah, it's totally fabulous. I love it. And I love what you've added and made it your own and made it more feminine and just more mindful. Obviously, it's called mindful co-working.
Sure.
And I I just noticed so much so in the masterminds I'm in and the clients that I have, that a lot of them, a lot of entrepreneurs get quite distracted, right? And they sit down, they don't really know what they want to work on, or they get pulled away by different notifications, or just, oh, I could be doing this, or I could be doing that, or I could be doing something totally different, like the laundry, right? Because we're all working from home now. And especially a lot of the people I work with have ADHD or ADHD tendencies, and this really focused time to get something you've been procrastinating, or something that just takes that flow space, can work really, really well. Like, I get so much feedback from people when they've done kind of any kind of co-working, frankly, that really, really helps. I will admit it doesn't work great for me, but it works so well for my clients that I think this is just such a great kind of partnership of being able to send them to you. And yeah, for me, I just like, I need silence. I need no distractions, not even the people on the screen. And I just do my work. But I just hear so much feedback that people love it. So
Yeah, totally. And it's my boyfriend is the same. He is very like, it doesn't work for him, but it works for many others. And
yeah.
it's beauty.
Well, and I love that you've turned it into the cabin club, and they can come to various sessions,
Yeah.
and there's more of a community, and you have different hosts and different time zones and all
Yes.
of that. So it's a really cool thing. I don't want to dwell on it for our whole conversation, but I really, that is what how I originally met you, and one of
Exactly.
the services that I just adore for, and I just think it's really helpful for people. What kind of things do people work on typically, or what kind of like problems do you notice entrepreneurs having?
So it's a lot of writing. So
Hmm.
that's writing blog posts, writing social media posts, anything around sort of writing something, sales pages, about pages, all of that, because it's just this sort of thing that requires such deep focus and concentration. And it's so easy to walk away from
Yes.
because it's hard. And that's I think one of the, like, across the board, I think people bring that often, again and again. People bring their weekly newsletters, and they get it done in much quicker time than they would if they wouldn't come to the space. But also, yeah, sometimes, like, I think the other things are more sort of, they come in, and some people work on, like, for example, I work on a lot of, because I do a lot of consulting, I sometimes work on like financial models, because I need focused time, and it's perfect for that. But I think on the other hand, also, it's like, so that is quite almost technical. But then a lot of creative work is also being brought to the cabin. So thinking about a problem, thinking about a new service, a new offering, even writing books or creating courses. So really creating something from scratch. And the meditation really helps with that, to access a part of the brain, of the body, of the heart that you probably wouldn't otherwise, or would have a harder time to access.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I'm noticing about that is it's stuff where people are working on their business. It's not as much like client work, or, well, it sounds like maybe you're doing some client consulting work, but for the most part, it sounds like it's dedicated time for those business owners to work on their business. When we get so caught up in all of our client work and deliverables uh, and so taking this dedicated space, if it's once a week or however often they decide to do it, could be super helpful in moving their business forward, focusing on that marketing or on that presence or on their goal setting or whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I really do notice that since creating the Cabin Club, and there was more of a consistency, people coming every week. And you really do see that in the way they show up online or in their newsletters. It's consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool is
It's
that?
not, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And like ultimately, I'm scratching my own itch, and I've been so consistent. I just reflected on this with my newsletter. I write it every other week. This is kind of the rhythm that works for me. But I've been doing that now for 6 months, 9 months consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we teach what we most need, right? So it's awesome.
Totally.
In case I forget later, your website is mindfulcoworking.com, correct?
Yeah. All one
So
word.
head
Yeah.
there. I think you can come to one for free
Yes.
and check it
Tuesday is
out.
always
And
free.
okay, perfect. Tuesday is always free. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions about mindful co-working. But I know this is super related, but what I love is you come from a financial background, correct? Like you do financial consulting and very like, I don't know, technical, strategic, all of that kind of stuff. And you've more recently, while still doing the financial consulting, are working in the embodiment space, right? And I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive. Obviously, they're not. I don't think they're that common that they overlap. So what, I mean, where did this come from? How did this kind of evolve for you? And I definitely want you to tell people what embodiment is, because I think a lot of the people listening probably don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let me start with that.
Yeah,
And
let's start there.
it's always hard to define that. And even like the masters in the field, like the OGs of embodiment, find it hard to define, because it has so many definitions and so many people see it in different ways. But really, I think the core of it is that we don't look at the body as as an object. So we don't look at it as the arm, but we look at it as an eye, like as a subject, like how it feels, and what it maybe has experienced, and how it helped us to write, to navigate life. And I think that's kind of like the core of it. The body is, we are the body. And rather than we have a body.
So I will say, like, I am not an embodiment coach. I don't really use a lot of embodiment in my work with people, but it is something that I guess I use the word somatic, which I think is overlapping. But
For sure.
this is something that over the past couple of years, I've just been made more and more aware of, is like, instead of disconnecting like how I'm feeling with what I'm thinking, starting to, please tell me if I'm off base with this, because this is not my area of expertise, but it's starting to understand that like those feelings in my body can help me make decisions, and they can help me be a better coach, and they can help me show up better for my clients and my family and just for the world. So I I especially notice it if I have like an event plan, not even a work event, but just like, oh, I'm supposed to go to this thing. And I'll notice if I start feeling like really tense, or like that feeling of dread, but not just intellectual feeling of dread, like in my body, like some sort of resistance or tightness, or like, I don't know, it could feel different ways depending on what it is. And now I'm starting to look at that and say, like, why am I not feeling good about this? Like, is it that I'm too rushed? Is it that I don't have enough information? Is it that I'm just feeling anxious because I don't know anyone who's going to be there? Or so I'm starting to kind of look at that feeling and not necessarily following it, not being like, oh, I feel bad, so I'm going to cancel whatever it is, but start to realize, like, how is how I'm feeling now indicating, I don't know, not what's going to happen. It's not a premonition, but it, like, how can I listen to what I'm feeling now to make this go smoother, or to make me feel better about this, or to, um, I don't know, kind of like that. And I just, even with clients, right? Sometimes I'll have someone on my calendar and I'm just like, ooh, I don't have a good feeling about this. Like, and that either means maybe I shouldn't be working with that person. Maybe I should have, not accepted that call, or maybe it means like I just didn't prepare enough, or I need to think of, like, I just start to think through, why am I feeling that way? I don't
Mm.
know. Is that kind of where we're going with this?
That's it. That's
Okay.
really, it's like that body mind connection that we're so often disconnected from, or don't
Hmm.
listen to, or don't, like we, and you said it there as well, like it's intellectually, a lot of things, like there is a knowing, but the body has a knowing too. And often the body knows better than the mind, because the mind
Hmm.
interprets, whereas the body, it just knows.
Hmm.
But we are not often, and again, I don't want to generalize, but I'm just speaking from my own experience here. um I've been from a very young age kind of taught not to listen to my body. I was told when I was little, it's enough now, you're cold, and put this on, or eat this food, like it's like, but I wasn't encouraged to listen to, when am I full? When am I
Yeah.
really cold? It's that sort of thing. And it starts there. And then layers and layers are added on top of it through school, through traditional schooling, for everything, really. And then I personally went into a very traditional grammar school, university, very heady, very brainy, very
Hmm.
externally focused as well.
Yeah.
Which again, externally, having an external focus doesn't really ask you to connect with your body at
Yeah.
all, until
Well,
it kind.
oh, go
Yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
yeah.
Until,
Well, only maybe on image wise, like your body image wise, for
yeah,
sure. But
there's that.
it's still a disconnection, because you're not. It's like you're still trying to fit your body in an external kind of way of being perfect.
Yeah.
Even if you look at dieting, I mean, I really try to untangle it all. I have a lot of body, I wouldn't say dysmorphia, but body image issues. And dieting from a very young age is basically someone else telling me what's best for me. And sort of that, for years and years and years and years. And then you realize, what did I do?
Yeah.
And you start to start and listen to your body. And that's not easy. It's really not easy if you've not listened to it for so long.
Yeah.
It's easier to listen to someone else who tells you, don't eat breakfast, eat 3 peas at lunch, and eat a soup at dinner.
Well, I can see why, though, because we fit into this mold of society, right? Where we have 9 to 5 jobs, we have to get up and do things before we go to work. And it's not like when we get to work, we can just stop at 9:30 because that's when our body wants breakfast. Like, we've got to just fit into this schedule that we're taught, or even if we take work out of it, like school, right? School starts at a certain time, ends at a certain time, and it's not based on what our bodies need, or else kids wouldn't go to school so early. It's based on what we need as a society for parents to go to work, right? So kids go to
Totally.
class so that their parents can go to work, right?
Yeah.
And I notice this so much with so I have a 4-year-old daughter, and we use the phrase like listen to your body so much. I don't know, I'm just cluing in now that I say this to her all the time, but like I don't think I'm getting better at it because I'm a broken record with her. But she will put down a cupcake halfway through because her body has said she's had enough. And other parents will look at me and go like, what? And I'm like, well, and sometimes your body says like eat all the cupcakes, fine. But like, and we don't necessarily encourage that, but it's just really interesting to see. Or if she doesn't want to put on her coat, I don't make her put on her coat, but as soon as she steps outside and it's -30, she comes instantly back inside and is like, oh yeah, I was wrong, I need a coat, that sort of thing. Or her body will tell her when she's tired, and she goes to sleep when she's tired. And it's really fascinating. I kind of wonder, I hope that she's going to grow up not needing to relearn all of these things. Obviously, society is going to like try and beat this stuff out of her, and we'll see how that goes. But it's just interesting noticing the difference in a small child.
Totally. And for this, I love watching what you've just described is like the experience I have with my niece and nephew.
Yeah.
They just know exactly, they eat half the chocolate bar or half the apple, or yeah, they say, I'm tired now, I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep it.
I was lying on the couch the other day watching TV and just like nodding off. And we have this thing, well, I'm just going to stay up until the show's done. And I said to I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this makes zero sense." And I turned off the show. There's 20 minutes left or whatever, and I went to bed, and I was like, "Wow, look at me go." I felt so good. I was like, "Oh, I'm listening to my tired signals, not overriding them. How great is that?" So I just think this work is so important, just even in that awareness, right?
Yeah. And you said a really important word just now, awareness, because this is the thing. When we have 9 to 5 jobs, we have commitments. You have a coaching call that you may not want to go to, but it's commitment. We can override our bodies, but it's like, are we aware that we're doing that? And once we've done that, how can we maybe mitigate that? How maybe then we'll take a longer break, or we reflect on, why did we take on this client in the first place, and maybe should we have listened to our gut that maybe said, or that showed us red flags earlier on. So it's all of that. It's like the big piece is awareness, really. And then, because the awareness gives us an option to act or not act. So yeah.
Yeah. And since the people listening to this are business owners, I strongly believe that we can all have the businesses exactly how we want them. And that includes our schedule, right? And tell me, but I assume kind of those body rhythms and when we do our best work and all of that is part of embodiment. And that's what I really encourage people to do, is pay attention. Like, maybe the reason you can't write that article is because you don't write well in the afternoons. Personally, I only write well in the mornings, and if it's not done in the morning, I cannot do it. So I think it's our responsibility as business owners to start to understand our own rhythms.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to a podcast. It's called Courage and Spice, and Sass Petherick was interviewing a woman whose name I will not remember, but it was all about following our rhythms, and including our menstrual cycles and the moon, and all of these things that affect us, which we are so used to overriding.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And specifically, yes, as women, we have a cycle, and there are days when we're just not as outgoing, as productive as we would like to be, because we are at a certain point in our cycle. And to honor that, again, it did not happen. It couldn't happen in the corporate world. I used to, like, frequently, every time I had a period, I used to use medication because I still had to function. And if I think about it today, it makes me really sad. But that was just that was just the environment I was in. But yes, now in self-employment as business owners, we can make this choice to, hopefully can make this choice to, okay, on the first day of our bleed, we'll take it easy. We'll do all of our work from the couch, or maybe don't do any work at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the rest of the cycle too, noticing those spikes in energy. I would say I'm just talking, but I don't do this, but I should definitely start to pay more attention. But just these are all bubbling to my awareness, which is another reason why I'm sure this is perfect timing that we're talking. So I know that there are lots of ways to start to get in touch with these things, these feelings in our body. I'm sure, meditation and breath work and all of that, all of those things. So how do you do it with how do you work with people on this?
So specifically around embodiment, I don't do too much of it yet. So the movement that we do at the start of each session, that's kind of that, it's very short, it's like 5 minutes, but that is sort of the little bit of checking in with our body, notice that we still have a body. That's sort of the kind of thing that I do in every cabin session. And what I want to add in very soon is the modality that I've now trained and qualified in, which is nonlinear movement. That really kind of, my teacher describes it as, and it's so beautiful, it's like, and I think I may have mentioned that to you before, it's like a mental floss, not mental floss, an emotional floss. At the end of start or end of the day, or both, doing movement to kind of work for everything that happened in the day, or even like when you have a big day, moving in the morning to preparing your body, calling in maybe what you want to call in, how you want to feel throughout the day, and let your body do the work, because your body knows.
Oh, I'm excited to see how you start doing that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, like with goal setting. I'm thinking about something in sort of the change of the next season from summer into autumn, to do something around goal setting, but from a body heart connection first, and then the mind after. So yeah.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about that in a separate conversation, because maybe we can kind of join forces on that. That sounds really cool. And so, okay, but what does that actually look like? So let's say, so I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
What do I do?
So with this practice, specifically nonlinear movement, or the nonlinear movement method, all you need is a mat, or even just, you can do it on top of your bed or on the carpet. Really, it doesn't matter. You just ideally have a space where you're not disturbed by others, because it is quite an intimate practice. And you kind of want to do, like meditation, you don't want to do necessarily sitting in the living room where like everyone is. It's 5 minutes, 10, like one song, length of one song is enough. You can also do it without music. You don't even need music for it. I've done it in many situations where I couldn't have music. And you get on the mat, on the floor, on the carpet, on all fours, so on hands and knees. You drop your head, and then usually I start with the practice of moving what you're feeling. So what am I feeling right now? And that can be my thoughts. Maybe I'm really busy thoughts, or I'm still tired, if I do it like in the morning or even in the evening. And then I move as tiredness. And that might sound weird, what does tiredness look like? But that is the beauty of nonlinear movement. No one says to you, this is how tiredness looks like. What does tiredness look like to you? And you move as tiredness. And this is, again, like ultimately, there's the beauty, what drew me really to it is my body is being asked what it's feeling, what that looks like as a movement. No one tells me, now move, now make a weird pose to move as tiredness.
Yeah.
And with that, you give the body back agency. And over time, it's just fantastic, so helpful for nervous system regulation, setting boundaries. It's just because you build a connection to your body that you may not have had before.
Okay, so you move how you're feeling in the moment,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then do you do something after that, or is it done?
So you could just leave it at that. So say a
Okay.
song just on moving what you're feeling. But like, for example, I don't know how what that is like for you, but I had a really difficult night. I think it was on Tuesday. And I had really strange dreams. I woke up just just feeling awful. And for no particular reason, but it just felt like this sinking feeling, and I just didn't know what it was. And something was sitting there. I could feel it. Something was sitting here in my throat. And I just know I then use nonlinear for it. So I do a little bit of moving what you're feeling, and then I go into release. So if I notice something like there is a feeling, a thought, a sensation that needs to be released, a sound, whatever it is, that I release. And for me, in that moment, just a lot of tears came. And the beauty again is I mean, my head is trained to want to understand. But that's the thing with a lot of embodiment work or somatic work. It's not about understanding and having your mind understand it. Your body understands it because clearly something's happening, and that's enough. And honestly, I did this for about 25 minutes. So moving what you're feeling and then going into release. And then I did an integration session that's usually like again 5 to 10 minutes, where it's like quiet music. I lie on my back and just let it all like wash over me. And by that time, you literally notice how your breath is, how your heart rate is settling, breath is slowing down, and you feel renewed after usually.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so I always question this because like to me, when you say like, okay, release it, like what does it mean? Like I always go to like, what do you do to release
Yeah.
it? But I know it's not about the doing,
Yeah.
but like, okay, so I'm with you with the feel how you're feeling or move how you're
Yeah.
feeling. I'm with that part.
Yeah.
But then what does it mean to release it?
So I could like I'm going to talk about this situation that I had on
Okay.
Tuesday, but also like in general terms, I'll talk about that after. So I noticed there was something here in my throat, and I noticed like I thought, okay, what is it? And then very quickly, already moving as you feel, moving what you're feeling, I noticed that tears were like sitting, like it was all kind of sitting in my face. And so what I tried to release, and not even try to, like my body just wanted to release the tears. And so the tears came. But sometimes I have like a really stiff neck. So I'm trying to just move in a way to release that sensation, that like stiffness in the neck. And sometimes that's successful, sometimes that's not successful. If you have busy thoughts, trying to release them, like it's a lot of it is like when you look at animals and they had a fight or something, they shake. And I think that's kind of instinctively, that's what we do. I often then get up a little bit, as in I usually don't stand up, but I get on my knees and then just shake. And the shaking often helps.
Yeah.
It's really like, again, not trying to understand from the mind. It's like, in that moment, what does the body want to do? And maybe sometimes it doesn't want to do anything, but just keep moving. Just one little part of your body, keep moving.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. I'm glad I asked because I'm always like my brain works very practically, right? Of like, okay, but what does that word really
Mm,
mean when you
mm,
say that? So I'm glad I'm glad I kind of helped you or got you to define that for me. And I could see how this, like maybe when you start doing this, like you don't notice a whole lot. And as you
exactly.
practice, it starts to,
Yeah.
we start to pay more attention. So yeah, this is really cool. So as a business owner, right? Like going back to business for a second, what are
Mm,
some of the ways this impacts business, or how could someone like bring this to their business? You said goal setting, kind of setting your intentions for
yes.
the day or for the work that you're
Yes.
doing. I
Yes.
love those ideas. Is there
Yeah.
anything else?
Yeah, moving through difficult situations. So at the
Mm,
end, using it at the end of the day. So yeah, like again, going back to like a situation where you had a conversation with a client that you've been kind of dreading, and or maybe something didn't go so well. There are just feelings that are sitting in the body, and you don't want them to calcify. You just want to move through them,
mm,
and that's just super helpful. And again, there might be tears, there might be nothing,
yeah.
but you processed it, or your body processed it, and sometimes that's all it needs. Maybe you want to follow that with some journaling. Maybe you want to do some journaling before and then move through it. it's
Mhm.
it's it's really, for me, that is so helpful. It's like in the moment, but also at the end of the day. um yeah, to check maybe if a decision you need to make is, it's like a body mind alignment. That's what the kind of calling in is all about. It's like
Mhm.
maybe just sometimes it doesn't feel right. You try to call in this option A, and
Yeah.
that just feels strange. And then you try to call in option B, and somehow that feels right. And it's really like, yeah, it's more like a gut feeling. It's subtle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. Again, this is all just the surface of my awareness. The past couple of years has been a slow learning, but I hired a coaching supervisor and she is very good. I hired her because I said to her, like, hey, I'm working on listening to my body more. Is that something you are good at? And she's like, oh, yeah, okay. So we don't talk about it all the time, but she notices, okay, like you're fidgeting a lot. What is that? What's going on there? Oh, you just put on a sweater. What was that feeling in your body? Or, um, you're leaning in or whatever it is, right? She's very good at like helping me just reflecting back, like, hey, you did this. And it helps me start to be like, oh, maybe that did mean something, right?
Mm,
And also she's really helping me, just reminding me that in my coaching calls, like pay attention to how you're feeling, how I'm feeling in my coaching calls, because maybe I'm sensing something. If I'm sensing attention, like bringing that up with the client, if I'm sensing their excitement or whatever, like starting to bring that up as a whole other playing field, for coaching, which has been really great. I've
mm,
been enjoying that level. So I'm not guiding people through stuff like I know a lot of practitioners do, but it's another level of awareness that is really pretty cool.
yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think it's always like paying attention to these little like shifts in someone's expression, or they get really excited, or whatever it may be, or they're leaning back or forward. I mean,
Yeah.
all of this gives us clues, and sometimes you reflect that back and
Yeah.
they can't or don't want to hear it, and then sometimes and they're like, okay, no, that's not it. But I think this should never discourage you from doing it, because often what feels
Yeah.
right to us is the right thing to say.
Yeah. Then it makes me all self-conscious that I'm like, oh, I just
Of
moved. Oh,
course.
maybe I am just cold. Like, I get all self-conscious. But that aside,
Yeah, no,
so
I mean.
as we wrap this up, like, is
Mhm.
there anything we kind of missed that you want to bring up or that you wish people knew?
It's I'm also very practical,
Yeah, well, that's what I love
and
about you. Yeah. I've said that
I
probably 85 times on this call. What I love about Daniela. Yeah.
so I like to sometimes really combine these two worlds, and so I like tips as well, and like how
Yes.
to maybe bring something into like everyday life. So two things that I have, especially like when working, like how to be more embodied when we're working. And when we're like in a session or in a conversation or whatever it may be. So especially that's super helpful in the summer right now. So I sit at my desk and I don't have any socks. I sit there barefooted. So I'm like, I have the connection between my feet and the ground. So not that I'm always aware of my feet, but I'm more likely to be aware of my feet and how my feet, like how I'm feeling. Do I feel grounded? What's going on? What sensations are present? And another super helpful thing, again, for my teacher, I love it. And I'm putting some hand cream. I've got some hand cream on my desk. And so I love hand cream anyway. But this is fantastic because you just put in this conversation with you, I used it once already. So you put the cream on your hands and you feel your body. You have an instant connection to your body. And that could again lead to, I actually feel quite tired, or maybe I feel other tensions that you wouldn't have maybe noticed before.
That's so cool. Yes, I also have hand cream right over here.
But then in
But
that
I
also
didn't
paying
think of it
attention.
that way.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's
Paying
like,
attention.
okay, it's the awareness piece again. Of course, we can put we can put hand cream on and we cannot even notice it. It's like eating
Of
and you don't
course.
even know
Yeah.
you're eating. Paying attention to it. So that's kind of the mindful piece. And then you have both the
Yeah.
awareness and the connection to your body.
Well, thank you for giving us practical tips because I usually do that and then totally blanked on that today. And I just think people, if they can just start, it's such a wonderful world to discover and you can go really, really deep on it. But I think the people who go really deep on it are just super into it, like they get nerdy about it, right? And another group of people I find like they start seeing some sort of relief from maybe a trauma or just some sort of like experience that they've had, and they just notice that this helps really relieve that. Maybe that's not the right word, relieve it. I don't know, but kind of for the average person, just a little more awareness across your whole life, I think makes such a difference, right? Like, oh, I'm noticing I'm really hot, or I'm squinting in the sun. Maybe I'll put on a hat, or like, just not overriding, you're hanging out with friends and something's feeling weird. Like just pay attention to those feelings, right? Parenting,
So
like
much.
I lose my cool when I'm hungry. So don't override those hunger signals. Just eat something and I'll be a better parent, right? So I think those are just ways, once you start paying attention, you notice
Oh, yeah.
all of these little things. The foot one's interesting because I'm at my parents' house right now and their floors are so clean. Like I feel I can just wear bare feet all the time. And at home, I'm like, oh, some dog, like, dirt from the dog or whatever, like, oh, stepped on something in the kitchen. And so I tend to wear stuff on my feet. But that makes me sound disgusting. But anyways, it's life, the inside peak of the
Totally.
different of a retired house versus um a working family house. But anyways, that's a really cool example.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I hope people will look you up, mindfulcoworking.com. This will not be the last time people in my sphere hear me talking about you for sure. And I just love what you're doing in the entrepreneur space, business owners and all of it. So thank you for being here. Anywhere else you want to send people?
I think that's the website is a good starting point, and from there you can see other things as well. Like it links to other places, so good starting point.
Fantastic. All right. And if someone is watching this and they're not already on my email list, you'll get more, videos and articles and I don't know, musings on doing business on your own terms. If you go to stephaniewazlik.com/permission, then you won't miss my next announcement about Daniela, whatever that may be. We'll see. So lovely having you here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks.